The smell hit me before the truth did. Vanilla and something floral. Too sweet. Too familiar. It wasn't my perfume. Our bedroom looked calm, untouched, except for a ripple near the bedspread and a lipstick-stained champagne glass on the nightstand. Not my shade. From the garden below came soft laughter, his laughter. My husband's. It was our anniversary, the night meant to celebrate us. But us had already died. I just hadn't seen the body yet. Before everything shattered, our home had been warm. Loud breakfasts, bedtime giggles, Daniel sketches scattered across the dining table. He was an architect, quiet and dependable. I taught preschool part-time. We had 2 children, Mia and Caleb, 6 and 4. I used to think I had everything. Then Clara walked into our lives. She came that summer, sunlight following her like a halo, smile gentle, eyes bright. "I've been a nanny for 6 years," she said, crouching down to Mia's level. "I love kids and cooking." Daniel had interviewed her himself. "She seems perfect," he'd said. "Someone the kids can really connect with." I nodded, exhausted and trusting. As long as she's good with them. And she was. Too good. Coffee ready in the morning, toys sorted by color, bedtime stories read with tenderness. I told myself she was a blessing. And for a while, she was. Until the details started to bother me. Daniel suddenly wearing cologne again, the way his voice softened when Clara entered a room, how laughter between them would stop the second I walked in. But I brushed it off. We were tired, busy, married. Paranoia wasn't love, I told myself. Trust was. Clara became part of the family. She took the kids to the park, baked cookies, hummed songs while folding laundry. I convinced myself we were lucky. But something small, quiet, and dangerous had already begun. The first crack appeared one ordinary evening. Daniel and Clara were watching a cooking show together, shoulders brushing, laughing softly. When I entered, she blushed, and he smiled too quickly. "Clara's teaching me a new recipe," he said. I smiled back, but my stomach twisted. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing their laughter echoing through the walls. Weeks passed. Daniel worked later, spent more time on his phone, and Clara started dressing differently. Lipstick, perfume, even soft music while she cleaned. She hummed love songs. Love songs. I noticed. I ignored. I broke my own heart pretending not to see. On the morning of our 10th anniversary, I decided to surprise him. A candlelit dinner, his favorite wine, a playlist from our early years. I told Clara she could take the night off. I'd dropped the kids at my mother's and wanted some alone time with Daniel. She smiled too quickly. "He'll love that," she said, her voice trembling. I thought she was just nervous. I was the fool still living in the fairy tale. That evening, I came home early to prepare. The house smelled of lemon cleaner and quiet. I set the table, candles flickering, soft music playing. Daniel was late, but I waited, heart fluttering with foolish hope. At 8, I texted him, "Where are you? Dinner's getting cold. No reply. At 9, headlights flashed outside. My heart lifted, then froze. Clara stepped out of Daniel's car. She wore a black dress, elegant, grown up. She held a wrapped box in her hand. My hand went to the curtain instinctively as I watched her unlock the door, with my key. She entered humming softly. A few seconds later, Daniel's voice followed, low, laughing. Their voices intertwined, familiar, intimate. I couldn't breathe. Then she said it. Clearly. Warmly. "Happy anniversary, love." Something inside me cracked open. I pressed my hand to my mouth, the candles trembling on the table I'd set for us. My pulse roared in my ears as I realized what I'd stumbled upon wasn't an accident. It was a secret anniversary of their own. For a long moment, I didn't move. I simply stood in the shadow of my own life, watching the version of happily ever after I'd built collapse in silence. No screaming, no confrontation, just a quiet death of trust. That night, I didn't cry. I just stood there until my legs gave out. And in that stillness, I understood something chilling. I was no longer the wife in this house. I was the witness. And the story I thought I was living had already been rewritten, without me. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the edge of the bed, the clock ticking like a heartbeat I couldn't calm. When Daniel came home, I pretended to be asleep. He smelled of cologne and something floral, that same scent that didn't belong to me. When he slid into bed and turned his back, I knew. I didn't have all the details yet, but I knew enough. Betrayal doesn't hit like thunder. It seeps, slow, invisible, until everything you built starts to rot beneath the surface. The next morning, he kissed my forehead as though nothing had changed. "You're up early," he said. I nodded, studying his face, searching for any trace of guilt. "You're always overthinking," he teased lightly, pouring coffee. My stomach churned. Clara walked in moments later, her hair loose, her cheeks flushed, and there, half hidden by her collar, a faint hickey. She noticed my gaze and quickly adjusted her hair. "I'll take Mia to school," she said, voice trembling slightly. I only replied, "Thank you." I didn't confront her that day. Not yet. I needed proof, something undeniable. In the days that followed, I watched them like a scientist observing a quiet storm. The way Daniel's voice softened around her, how she smiled only when he was near. The air between them was charged, thick with something I used to call love. One evening, I caught a glimpse of them in the kitchen, laughing over something on her phone. The way she leaned toward him, the way he looked at her, it was all too intimate. I asked what it was. Daniel replied too quickly, "Just a video the kids made." She nodded, biting her lip. I smiled and walked away, heart pounding like a drum. That night, I did something I'd never done before. I checked his phone. There were no texts, no photos, nothing that could prove anything. Too clean. That kind of cleanliness only comes from guilt. He'd deleted everything. The hidden folder was locked. And there, in the recently deleted files, was a blank space, cleared just 2 days ago. He was erasing his sins. The next weekend, he said he was going out of town for a client meeting. I asked where. "Lakewood," he answered, too casually. He kissed my cheek and said, "Don't wait up." When he left, I walked to his car and checked the GPS. The last address wasn't Lakewood. It was the Rosewood Motel. Room 7. My body went cold. I sat behind the wheel, staring at the glowing screen. Proof. I finally had proof. The next day, I told Clara she could take the afternoon off. "You've been working so hard," I said kindly. She looked surprised. "Are you sure?" "Yes," I smiled. "Go, enjoy yourself." She hesitated, then smiled with visible relief. "Thank you, Mrs. Sanders." As soon as she left, I followed. I parked across from a small florist shop downtown. She came out with a bouquet of white lilies, Daniel's favorite. My stomach twisted as I watched her board a bus heading toward the highway. I followed in my car, keeping my distance. She got off near the motel. My breath caught as she walked confidently up to room 7. Knocked twice. The door opened. Daniel stood there, smiling. He kissed her before she even stepped inside. I watched them, hands, faces, movements too familiar. I lifted my phone and took a picture, my hands shaking. Not out of revenge, but to make the nightmare undeniable. So that one day, when he lied, I could show him the truth. I drove home before they saw me. I sat in the driveway until the engine went cold. When Daniel returned the next morning, He looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Long night, productive meeting." His voice was steady. His lie, perfect. I smiled. I'm sure it was. 4 days, I said nothing. I needed to see how far he would go. How many lies he could layer before one cracked. He kissed me goodnight, hugged the kids, laughed with Clara in the mornings, as if nothing was wrong. But I noticed everything. How she started wearing that same vanilla perfume again, how he lingered in the kitchen when she cooked, how silence followed when I entered the room. I had my proof. I had my pain. Now I needed my moment. It came on a Friday. Our 10th anniversary. He left early, dressed in his best suit, smelling like betrayal and cologne. "Dinner tonight?" I asked softly. "Of course," he said, smiling that empty smile. "Wouldn't miss it." He missed it. At 7 p.m., I drove to the Rosewood Motel. Room 7. The sunset bled orange and violet across the sky. Beautiful, cruel colors. His car was already there. 5 minutes later, Clara arrived, wearing a red dress that didn't belong to a nanny. She carried a small cake box. I parked far enough to stay unseen. Through the half-drawn curtain, I saw everything. The wine glasses, the candlelight, his hand on her face. My hands trembled as I hit record. The phone captured what my heart already knew. I wasn't the wife anymore. I was the witness, the archivist of my own heartbreak. When she left, I waited. Then I walked to the door and knocked. Twice. He opened it, shock freezing his face. "Amelia," he whispered. "Happy anniversary," I said. His eyes darted to the candle, the cake, the half-empty glasses. "It's not what it looks like," he began. "Oh, Daniel," I laughed softly. "Then please, tell me what it is." He stammered, words spilling out like cheap excuses. I was going to end it. "With the woman I trusted to raise our children." I asked coldly. "How poetic." He reached out, but I stepped back. "You don't get to touch me," I said. "You've already touched enough." He begged, he cried, but I was calm. Calm like someone who's done breaking. "You've destroyed 10 years, I whispered. "For what? A secret cake and a lie." I set the phone on the table, playing the video. His face fell as the sound filled the room. Clara's laughter, his voice, the clink of glasses. Proof. I met his eyes one last time. "I hope it was a good anniversary," I said softly. "It's your last." And then, I left. The morning after I left the motel, the world felt heavier, but clearer too. The fog had finally lifted. I sat in the kitchen, staring at the same table where Clara once packed lunches, where Daniel once smiled across his coffee. Everything familiar now looked foreign. I called my mother. Her voice, calm and warm, broke me. "Sweetheart, come home," she said. "Bring the kids." I didn't tell her everything, just enough for her to understand that the life I built had ended the night before. She didn't ask for proof. Mothers don't need evidence. They feel it through the silence of their children. When Daniel came home that afternoon, I was packing. "You're really leaving?" he asked, his voice hoarse. I didn't look up. "I have to." He tried to explain, to apologize, to promise change, but I'd already heard every word in my head 100 times. "Please, Amelia," he said, "don't do this. Think of the kids." I replied softly. "That's why I'm going." That night, I drove to my mother's house. The kids slept in the back seat, unaware that everything had changed. When we arrived, my mother met me at the door with open arms and no questions. "You're home now," she said. And for the first time in months, I believed her. Days passed in slow motion. I woke up each morning expecting his voice, the smell of his cologne, the sound of Clara humming. But instead, there was silence. Soft, Honest silence. I began to rediscover small rituals, making coffee for one, reading to the kids at night, breathing without waiting for lies to fall from someone else's mouth. Daniel called. Then texted. Then wrote letters. I didn't answer. I was done being an audience to someone else's guilt. He came once to see the kids, standing on my mother's porch holding lilies. I've ended it, he said quietly. I'm getting help. I looked at him, not with hate, but with a calm I didn't know I possessed. I hope you do, I said. Because I can't teach you anymore. He nodded, tears glistening. Can you ever forgive me? Maybe, I said after a long silence. But forgiveness doesn't mean return. It just means release. Time moved forward. I found a small apartment near the kids' school. It wasn't perfect, 2 rooms, chipped paint, but it was ours. We painted the walls soft yellow. We filled the kitchen with laughter again. Mia told me one night, "Mommy, I like this house better. It feels lighter." I smiled. It is, sweetheart. It's built on truth. I started working again, helping organize events at the community center. Simple things, birthday parties, charity dinners, local weddings. Joyful reminders that love can still exist, even after it's broken you. One woman told me, "You have such peace in your eyes." I almost laughed. Peace, I realized, wasn't about what I'd lost. It was about what I'd survived. Months passed before I heard about Daniel and Clara again. A friend sent me a link, photos of them together, smiling in some cafe. The comments were cruel, curious, endless. But I didn't feel anger this time, only pity. When everything you build rests on someone else's pain, it's only a matter of time before it collapses. Eventually, even that gossip faded. The world forgets, but you don't. You learn to live with the echo until it quiets. 1 year later, Daniel came to a school event for our son. He looked older, smaller somehow. After the ceremony, he said, "You look good, Amelia." "Thank you. I see how strong you've become." "I always was," I said. "You just didn't notice." He smiled sadly and walked away. That was our real goodbye. The quiet one, without tears or apologies, just 2 people finally letting go. That night, after the kids went to bed, I sat on the balcony of our small apartment, watching the city lights. I lit a candle labeled *rebirth. The scent was citrus and rain. I thought about the woman I used to be, the one who ignored her instincts, who tried to hold everything together. I whispered to her, "You made it." Betrayal didn't end my story. It just rewrote it. I learned that survival isn't loud. It's in the small things, waking up without dread, laughing with your children, finding comfort in your own company. It's forgiving without forgetting. It's understanding that peace doesn't mean life is perfect. It means you've stopped needing it to be. Sometimes, people ask if I ever forgave her, the nanny. I tell them, yes. In pieces. Not for her sake, but for mine. Because carrying hate is just another kind of prison. Now, when I look at my reflection, I don't see a broken woman. I see someone who walked through fire and came out whole. Someone who rebuilt, quietly, fiercely. The night I found that champagne glass, I thought my life had ended. But really, it had just begun. Because some endings are just disguised beginnings.